Hello, welcome. Come on in, get settled. We'll give everyone a few minutes just to come in and uh, get ready, and then we'll get started. All right. Looks like we're all ready. Pardon me. All right, so welcome. Thank you for joining. This is the Illinois Tech Coursera Master of MBA student panel. Um, did I just say Master of MBA? Yes, I did. Master of Business Administration, or also the MBA. So just to briefly go over some housekeeping, we will be taking questions, so please do use the Q&A function. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, we'll be sure to answer them, both out loud and in text. So just to briefly cover introduction, also just the webinar overview. So we'll introduce our team today. We'll do a brief overview of Illinois Tech as a school, as well as the MBA program. And then I will pass it over to my colleague within Coursera to talk about the Coursera side of things. And then we will also take time to answer questions. All right. So to briefly introduce myself, my name is Paige Wolf. I am the Senior Assistant Director of Graduate Admissions within Illinois Tech. So my role within the Coursera program is I assist with registrations, troubleshooting around enrollment, as well as assessing your CPL or credit for prior learning certificates, and anything else that kind of requires my attention. I will now pass it to Ada to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. I am Ada Rodriguez, the enrollment counselor here from Coursera. I am basically here to support every one of you in your journey, in your research journey. I am a resource to you, happy to discuss any details about the program, questions you may have, help you make an informed decision, and walk you through the first steps in your future. So thank you for joining.
Excellent. And we are also joined by a current MBA Coursera student, Brian Parker. Brian, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself.
Hey everyone, good to meet you all. So I'm currently about halfway through the program. I've completed 18 of the 36 credit hours, and so far it's been a great learning experience and a fantastic journey. So I'm very excited to continue to progress along with the rest of the program.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian. All right, without further ado, we'll just briefly cover Illinois Tech as a school, as well as the MBA program, and then we will get to the student panel portion. So Illinois Tech, or our full name is Illinois Institute of Technology. We are a very well-ranked university on the national and regional level. According to US News, we are top 100 in the country, and the Wall Street Journal has us ranked as number 23 of best colleges in the world and number 1 in Illinois, which is very, very exciting for us. Beyond the quality of education that you can expect from Illinois Tech, our education tries to prepare you for what's next, your career or maybe further education. So definitely some very big things in terms of employment rates and earnings potential as well. Sorry, I clicked onto Zoom. So we are the only technology-focused university in the city of Chicago, and we are very proud of that fact. We have two campuses in Chicago, one of which is just downtown, just south of downtown, called the Mies campus, named after the architectural pioneer Ludwig Ludwig Mies van der Rohe. There we go. Several of the buildings, especially the initial buildings, were designed by him, and as well as a few others that kind of went through our architectural program. We also have a downtown campus, which is right there in the middle of downtown. And that holds our law school, the Chicago Kent School of Law, as well as the Stewart School of Business, where we run the M.B.A. program, which is really, really cool because having campus downtown means you are just right in the middle of an emerging hub of the West Loop, which is full of business opportunities and networking. And also, it's Chicago, it's great, and so on and so forth. Now, since our founding in 1890, we have been largely focused on providing you an active learning community. So our faculty wants to make sure that you have an education that's rooted in innovation and creation. So not just kind of get by with mediocre, staying kind of in the middle of the job market. We want to have you be industry leaders. And that is also a big focus of our Coursera program. We try to make sure that that our program kind of keeps you up to date with relevant information. I cannot talk today. I'm very sorry. So we are also an engine of opportunity to provide you the best return on your educational investment. So we're very well ranked for our occupational earnings power, and Forbes has ranked us top 25 STEM colleges in the nation. So some very good rankings there. All right, we are also a research institution. If you follow that QR code, you can go straight to our research page and just sort of check out what we're up to right now. We try to keep that up to date with what our ongoing research projects. So we have some focuses on computation, data, energy, deep science, health and wellness, social justice, urban futures, so on and so forth. So same as our curriculums, we try to make sure that our research can create significant and meaningful change for the overall world. We try to make things better for people. And we have about 30 campus research centers that take care of that. So again, if you're interested in seeing what we're up to, please do take a look at our website. All right, and as I had mentioned about our graduate outcomes, this right here is a collection of data from the last 5 or 6 graduating classes. We try to see where everybody has ended up about 6 months after graduation. And as you can see, a good chunk of them end up employed in their fields with top employers with very competitive salaries. And this is just an overall view of the entire school. So if you want, I encourage you to go play with this tool. Go just follow that QR code. You can drill it down to the M.B.A. or just the Stewart School of Business just to see what kind of outcomes our past students have achieved. All right. And now with that, we'll move on to the M.B.A. program overview. So as I said, this is the Master of Business Administration offered by the Coursera program. And one big focus of our business school is we're trying to bridge business with technology. It's unavoidable at this point. Technology is big and it drives a lot of change, and it's everywhere now. So we're trying to make sure that we provide you with an education that can help you with a career that is technology focused or technology adjacent. So we try to make sure that you're learning how to employ data to make decisions or employ tech to help, your business grow. So, yeah, we try to make sure that you have an education that's relevant to today's careers or today's jobs. So the Stewart School of Business prepares students for a rapidly evolving business world with a future-ready and applied education that bridges businesses and technology with STEM-focused programs. So you'll be learning the latest industry practices. The Stewart School of Business has advisory councils that are composed of industry executives and experienced professionals who collaborate with faculty to make sure that our programs are always up to date with today's needs of employers. And one very cool thing that faculty has informed me of is they usually don't teach the same class twice. They're always updating their curriculum. They're always updating their classes to make sure that they have the latest business practices and industry practices ready for you to learn about, which is super, super cool. So in the M.B.A. program, Stewart School of sorry, I just moved a little too quickly there. Stewart's rigorous approach develops students' analytical skills and leadership skills and entrepreneurial mindset and adaptability so that you can harness the emerging technologies to drive business innovation. So keeping up to date, keeping relevant. So within the M.B.A. program, you can build your business expertise in management, innovation, strategic decision-making, marketing, business economics, so many key skills to help you take on complex challenges. For example, you can also learn about data analytics, the ability to manipulate and analyze large data sets, and turning that data into actionable insights, Oh yes, Brian, you've raised your hand. Do you want to jump in?
Sure, I was just going to add something real quick to that page, if you don't mind. When you touched
Sure.
on the strong focus on technology earlier, and just now your point on large data sets, I found through especially the M.B.A. 703 and M.B.A. 708 courses, which are highly Excel based. Coming from an IT background, a lot of times we wouldn't necessarily look to a tool like that to do larger scale data analytics, but I was very impressed. I mean, you can pull in tens of millions of rows and throw up very professional looking business intelligence dashboards. The professor that teaches that course has a strong background there and kind of showing you under the hood kind of some of the best practices in terms of developing that kind of solution, but then also paying close attention to the presentation of the information. So I just wanted to kind of call that out as being a really good experience so far and some skills that I've fortunately taken from the program.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you very much for sharing that.
Sure.
All right. And just to continue on, I want to just touch a little bit about our faculty. So the faculty at the Stewart School of Business have excellent academic credentials and experience because they are practitioners in their field. They usually have their own businesses. So they're bringing expertise in both theory and practice to their teachings. So, that can help students connect concepts to practical experience and apply it to their industry settings. And then the Stewart School of Business is accredited by the Association to Advance Collegiate Schools of Business International, which is the world's leading accreditation body for business schools. And just so you know, only 6% of business schools are accredited by this institution. So that's really huge for us. All right. And this is just a little slide to show some of our alumni and kind of what they're up to, and as you can see, a lot of them are leaders in their own industries. They have made their own businesses, and, ascended all the way up to very large leadership positions. So it's as you can see, our alumni do great things. All right, and just to briefly cover just the curriculum of the MBA, you just skip a couple things here. So you can complete the program within 12 months if you take on full-time coursework every single session, or you can take a little bit more time and stretch it out to 2 years if need be. You'll have to complete 36 credits with 24 core credits as well as 12 specialization credits. Yes, Brian.
Just to clarify, Paige, I believe there's a 6-year limit. You don't necessarily have to complete the entire program in 24 months. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. That's more of a sort of a policy thing, not a I don't know what I'm trying to say. Um, Basically, because it's kind of natural for us to try to update our curriculum over the years, we kind of want to make sure that the credits you do take are still relevant when you actually graduate. And the longer you take, the more likely that some of your previous classes may not apply to the program requirements anymore. So,
Makes sense. Yep, makes
yes.
sense. I was just going to say
Yeah.
there might be students out there uh, that have very demanding full-time jobs like my case. So in my
Oh, yeah.
particular case, I'm actually dragging it out to 3 years. But that is a good point about wanting the course material to stay relevant.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So yes, 6 years as a policy, try to have it done within 6 years. You can still maybe graduate if something happens. You just might have to take a few extra courses. Um, so right now we are offering the business and tech specialization, which offers specialization courses in artificial intelligence, digital transformation, as well as digital marketing. And the purpose of this specialization is to give you the tools and expertise to leverage technology in today's rapidly changing business environment and succeed in all kinds of management roles, leadership roles, um, especially those where technology plays a critical role. Okay. We do have a few other specializations that we are currently developing, and I haven't heard when they'll be ready, but they should be ready hopefully soon. And this is a performance-based admission program, meaning you do not need to prepare GRE, you don't need to prepare a formal application. You just need to provide your bachelor's transcript and degree just to show you have a bachelor's transcript. And there's no previous GPA that's required from that bachelor's degree. All you need to do is take these 3 1 credit hour courses and achieve a B or higher in all 3 of them. And once you do that, you'll be awarded conditional admission. And then you'll take these 3 additional courses, which are 2 credits and are kind of extensions of the PBA courses. And once you achieve a 3.0 cumulative GPA or 3.0, oh my gosh, 3.0 or higher, then you'll be given unconditional admission. And then, of course, these credits do count towards your degree. All right, and we're also here to answer any further questions, but in the meantime, I will now pass it over to Ada to talk about Coursera.
Thank you, Paige. Wonderful presentation. As I mentioned earlier, I am the enrollment counselor that works with Coursera. My role is to be a resource to you, be able to share the information, discuss the ins and outs of the program. Lots of questions we'll go over during the Q&A session, of course, but we can have a one-on-one conversation as well. You're all welcome to schedule a meeting directly on my calendar. So just let's meet. Let's see if this would be the best mode for you, and I'll be here to assist if you don't mind sliding to the next slide, please. Thank you. As Paige mentioned, the program follows the performance-based admissions process as opposed to the traditional application itself. Doing the performance-based admissions process, it just basically makes everything a lot easier. Especially if in the case that your bachelor's degree is considered international, it's from a different country perhaps, the performance-based admissions will eliminate a lot of the roadblocks and extra work, so to speak, that a traditional process may entail. Basically, by completing the pathway courses, your work is your application as far as that final grade that you should achieve within those 3 courses, which is the B or better or that 80% or higher individually. Once you are finished with those courses, you will be accepted in the program and you'll be able to move on to the post-pathway courses and continue further with your degree. The next slide, please. Now, the process is very simple. As Paige mentioned, you do have to provide evidence of your bachelor's degree, which are your transcripts or the diploma itself. You will complete a short registration form where you will indicate which of the 3 pathway courses you would like to get started with. You do have to complete all 3 of them to be accepted in the program, but you do not need to take them all together. It depends on your availability and your comfortable level, right? If you want to get started with just one course, you'll select that one course for the current session, perhaps, which we have Spring A currently available. You'll work on that course within the session itself. And as long as you receive that B or better, you can then register for the following course during the following session, which in this case will be Spring B starting March 10th, if I'm not mistaken. After that, you do want to maintain a cumulative 3.0 GPA throughout your journey in the program to maintain good standing. So take it slow if needed. It is a very flexible program and a wonderful opportunity for everyone. Next slide. I think that's it. We can jump into the Q&A session then.
Thank you, Ada. We will now take questions.
Paige, if you don't mind, just while we have Brian here, if we just give him a couple quick questions that learners seem to be asking kind of the most, and also just some background information so we can get to know him a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. Hi, Brian. Thanks for joining. I'm over here with Coursera. I'm Victoria. Kind of be the voice asking you these questions. So thanks for joining.
Hey, Victoria, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for being here. So real quick, if you wouldn't mind just giving a little bit of background about who yourself, kind of if you're working in tandem with the program, and then what stood out about this program initially.
Sure, I appreciate that. So basically, I'm from the Cleveland, Ohio area. I currently work full-time, have quite a deal of software development experience. So I've come across quite a few different programming languages over my career. Kind of moved into a bit of a business intelligence database background, and also some system administration types of things. So I love IT and I really enjoy software development, but I was really attracted to the program in large part due to the fact that it is an MBA, obviously number one, but also too that it does have that tech focus. So you don't get 100% just theory and never-ending reading articles and things like that. You actually do get to apply skills hands-on. That was kind of evident from my initial review of the course descriptions before starting. So a couple of examples there would be M.B.A. 501, which is our financial statement applications course. You kind of go through and not having come from an accounting or finance background, there's a little concern on what do I need to do to position myself best for success in that particular course? And the professor and TA were both very helpful before the course even started, responding to some questions. So basically just, bought a hard copy of the book and the workbook, made sure to work a lot of the practice exercises, and I found that super beneficial. And a lot of the assignments were, like I was saying, kind of more hands-on in terms of applying some of those skills. And similar characterizations also apply to the operations and process management course, and also to the marketing course.
That's great. Yeah, that was a really great overview. Thank you. We're getting a couple questions in the Q&A. It's similar to one of the ones I was going to ask you in just a bit, so I'll just skip to it now. In terms of the program being hands-on or giving you professional experience like internships or networking, I know you're only halfway done, but has there been any opportunity to kind of even get some mentorship from professors or things like that?
That's actually a great question and good time. I know Illinois Tech has a strong career services department, both overall for the university and I think Stewart Business School has its own dedicated folks there as well. So in terms of networking and helping with professional opportunity, when it comes time for the job search and a lot of that, I just kind of recently started getting to know some of those folks. I've been pretty impressed overall with a lot of the initiatives they have going on in that regard. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of valuable resources available, not just when it comes to the coursework, but also to the second part of your question. The TAs do hold weekly office hours, and depending on each course in terms of how many credit hours, there's anywhere from I think 1 to 3 live sessions per term with the professor as well. So the weekly office hours have been a big benefit. A lot of times people don't have too many questions because a lot of material is straightforward and very well presented. But at the same time, when questions do come up, they're typically very good in kind of presenting some of the background and providing references and saying, hey, maybe go look at this section of the reading or check this out to kind of help the student succeed on their own. And then if they need further help after that, of course, that's always available. But I do like the approach in helping with the learning process and answering any questions about the material.
Yeah, that's great. The weekly office hours are something that we're getting a lot of questions about as well, just in terms of, just having that kind of personal touch point. If you have questions, that's a huge differentiator. So thanks for talking about that. One more quick thing for you. Just in terms of your enrollment process into the program, we did talk a little bit about performance-based admissions. Can you talk just a little bit about your experience with those and how you found them? And you can be perfectly honest. If you love them, that's great. If you didn't like them as much, maybe still say I love them. No, I'm kidding. But feel free to be honest kind of about your experience and what you liked and maybe what some challenges were.
Sure, great question, Victoria. So basically I came across, it may have been the actual Coursera website where they have a couple different programs listed out. So there were links to the university and all that. So basically, I really like the fact that you don't necessarily have to put together a formal application with GRE, GMAT scores, that kind of thing. You basically just enroll in the courses, and I think some of your slides, Ada, I think it was mentioned that basically your performance in those courses is essentially considered your application. So for me, that gives folks that feel confident that they can work the material in the first 3 courses, M.B.A. 701, 702, and 703. Extra incentive to kind of just, hey, work hard, succeed in those courses, and you don't have to go through a lot of some of the other typical paperwork or processes that might apply at other schools. In terms of the actual process itself, I believe there's a site, I think it's the Target X system, which is, this is one small minor pain point, but basically you essentially use one website to register for M.B.A. 701, 702, and 703. And then after that, you kind of switch over to the more traditional historic registration system provided by the university for the rest of your courses. So folks have done a good job of documenting the instructions on how to do that, but there still can be some confusion at times because folks might be taking, for example, 702 during one term, but then also for whatever reason they're also taking 706 at the same time. And if you don't necessarily register for those 2 courses using the exact same website or location, that can sometimes confuse folks. So like I said, there is great documentation and instruction out there, but one piece of feedback, if the university can maybe look at consolidating that whole process and streamline to one system for all courses, that'd be appreciated by folks.
Awesome. Yeah, it can be nice to kind of just eliminate that hassle of getting a bunch of things together. That's kind of the goal of it. So I'm glad that you found it that way.
And you only have to worry about it in the first 3 courses. Once you've moved on past 701, 702, 703, then the process is easy, straightforward, and the same for the rest of the program.
I will take that feedback to leadership and see what we can do.
Thanks, Paige.
Of course, we are moving away from Target X in the future, so that will offer an opportunity for consolidation as well.
Cool. But I would say, especially when the program first launched, there were a couple hiccups, and uh, you know, basically hats off to the administration. They were super responsive and making development changes, within the hour essentially to get things up and running. So there can be quick response in the event of any issues.
Awesome. Thank you. I know we're getting a bunch of questions in the Q&A, so that's great. If you have any specific questions for Brian, please feel free to note that as such. I guess we can just start to take some of these other questions for Paige and Ada, and Brian, if you have some notes that you want to jump in with as well, please feel free to. But yeah, we can move on to just regular Q&A with Paige's permission. Yeah.
Yeah, of course. I've been answering a few just in the Q&A.
Great. I'm happy to tee them up if helpful. Just so everyone is able to understand what question we're answering. I know not everyone can see the Q&A. Are bachelor's degree transcripts to be requested from the university, or should I be okay to upload scanned copies?
For the initial registration, uploading a scanned copy will suffice, especially if we need to just assess that it's a bachelor's degree we accept. Once you are ready to move on to the degree program, so basically after you've passed the PBA courses, then yes, we do need to have those official documents sent directly from the university. And you'll have preferably until you're completed with the post pathway courses to get that in. But if there's some issues, we're happy to work with you in the meantime.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So Pradeep asks, I have a master's in IT degree. Can I transfer credits to satisfy the MBA program credits?
We are not accepting transfer credits from previous masters at this time. We do accept certain Coursera professional certificates, though. For example, like Google Data Analytics or a couple of IBM certificates. So if you have one of those, you can submit one for up to 3 credits to waive a specialization course.
I'll go ahead and I'll drop the in the chat for everyone to see. If you do want to transfer credits to the MBA, this would be the way to do it right there. Brian, yeah.
And say, hey, Paige and Ada, I see a couple more student-oriented questions. Mind if I grab one? We can do an answer live real quick.
Sure, go for it.
All right, so I'm seeing Maria is asking, do you still get to grow your network even if it's online? Is there any dedicated time for this that is part of the program? So that's a great question. I probably should have mentioned our Vibrant Slack community earlier. So that's kind of a place where students can definitely network, get to know each other. We have like a general channel. We have channels for each individual course. And I believe one of our students as well set up a LinkedIn group for students of the program. So there are definitely opportunities outside of class to kind of get to know and network and that sort of thing.
Great. Thanks, Brian. Few quick questions, probably at this point, everyone on the call would know this one. Are any of the tests proctored, and is all of the material available immediately upon start?
I can take that one. Yes to the no to the first one. The exams are non-proctored, and you do have access to the whole course in the beginning of the session. So instead of releasing weekly modules, all those 4 or 5 modules, however many are designed, per each course, will be available to you. Like I said in the beginning of the session, which is going to be an 8-week session. So it's important that you allocate ample time on a weekly basis to work on your courses, allocate some study time, submit all of your assignments, quizzes, and exams, as the hard deadline to complete will be the 8th week mark. Brian.
Sure. So this is a really good question from Rupesh. Please throw some light on how intense are the PBA courses. I have a full-time job. Is splitting them across spring A and spring B advisable, or consider taking some of them in summer? That's an awesome question. Some people try to knock them out all in the same term. For me, I personally tried to start with just M.B.A 703, but then I was on one of these similar types of webinars, and somebody had mentioned how the courses are shorter. So maybe I got a little too eager and at least in my case, I do work full time, typically 35, 40 hours a week. I found all three at the same time to be a bit much. I think it's doable, but if I could do it over again, I would have started with probably 701 and either 702 or 703. And then whichever one of those latter two I didn't include, I would then at a later term pair that one with M.B.A. 706. So that would be my approach.
That's awesome, Brian. And kind of while we're talking about PBA courses, we can go over to Lizette's question. I guess how long did those three initial courses take you since you were taking them all at the same time? And there's a quick follow-up question after that.
Yep, let me bring up my spreadsheet. I think I spent about 80 hours on M.B.A. 702. M.B.A. 701 was 35 to 40, which is what I kind of recommended pairing that with one of the other two. And I think M.B.A. 703 was about 65 hours. And that time was just time spent studying, attending office hours as needed, and attending live sessions. So that also didn't include, printing out any of the course materials or anything of that nature.
Brian, can I ask a quick question to that? Is that a weekly count you're providing or the overall
Oh,
completion
no,
of the
sorry.
course?
Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. No, that overall for the 8-week term. So yeah,
What an important clarification. If that was weekly, I don't know.
I was going to say there's not enough hours in the week for that.
Thanks, Ada.
Yep. Sure.
The quick follow-up, which might be for Brian or possibly Paige. How long did it take for the once you enroll for to start the admissions process? I don't know if I'm reading this one right, actually. So how long is the review process for transcripts before starting the enrollment process?
How long is the review process? Gotcha. So that's a good question. It can be anywhere between 1 day to a couple of weeks, depending on, I guess, if we're familiar with the particular education you're bringing. So once you've submitted your documentation and it's added to your file, then we can have you verified pretty quickly. So I would say the overall time could take a few weeks, because sometimes documents do take a little time to get to us. Um, so I hope that answers your question. Um, but yeah, and you can start this process as early as when you first register. Um, and again, if there's any sort of issues with contacting your previous university, we can also show some flexibility all the way up until your graduation. Preferably, it shouldn't take that long, but we can if need be.
Brian, yeah, feel free.
So we have a good question from RJ regarding post-MBA. How familiar are the professors with each student's work? Do they provide professional letters of recommendation, introductions, or other job relevant resources? Even though I'm only halfway through the program, I would say at least 50 to 75%, if not more, the professors are very actively engaged. And the course sizes can vary. It can be anywhere from 10 to 15 up to 80, 90 people per course per term, depending on the particular class and where folks happen to be with their sequencing. But I know, especially for the Excel-oriented courses, the professor is, very aware of your work. And in fact, I think she might actually do all the grading herself, even though the TAs do help a lot. So that also applies to the marketing course and the operations and process management. Both those professors are always on weekly office hours and are highly engaged with the students directly. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if a great deal of them would be more than happy to provide letters of recommendation and stay in touch after a course completes, as that might make sense.
Thanks, Brian. This is a good one from Richard. I don't know if we have this exact number, but they're curious how many countries are represented in rough ages or age ranges.
That is an excellent question. I can give you a guesstimation. I don't think we are tracking this at this time, but I can guess 100 plus countries. And the age range is probably wider than what we normally see in our on-campus programs. Because you can come in anywhere and at any time. We do not limit age or country in any way. As long as you have an internet connection and the aptitude, you can take this program.
Yep, just to add to that, I've seen anywhere from probably mid-20s all the way up to, in some cases, 50s or 60s. So
Yeah,
there can be quite a wide range there on age. Countries off the top of my head, I know one student who's in Bulgaria. I think there's a couple in Afghanistan. We
yeah.
have Ukraine represented. It's just very many, as Paige was mentioning.
We have students from Egypt as well that I
Yes.
can remember. Pretty cool to
Yes.
see that. Definitely flexible
Yes.
to fit everyone's needs, I would say.
Yes, absolutely. The Coursera program has enabled us to reach more students than we were able to for our on-campus program. So that's definitely a big plus for us.
And I
That
appreciate that.
flexibility
Otherwise,
goes
I wouldn't be
hand.
going here.
Yes.
As much as I love Chicago, I'm unfortunately not local to Chicago right now.
Excellent.
The flexibility we're discussing goes hand in hand with David's concern. He is wondering how flexible the program is because he may have work conferences in maybe family vacations within that 8-week session itself. Am I able to take 1 or 2 weeks off between to learn at my own pace? The answer to that, David, will be yes. That is one of the reasons why the full course, all of the modules within the course will be released to you in the beginning of the session so that you can plan ahead at your own pace. Anticipating a trip, anticipating a vacation halfway through the 8-week session would allow you to, I guess, work a little bit harder the week prior to just work ahead on your modules and avoid playing catch up, so to speak, right? When you return from that trip specifically. Now, it is very important to remember that it is only an 8-week session. So do be mindful of this, plan wisely, right? If you anticipate a lot of traveling or interruptions within the session, perhaps select only one course or maybe just 2 courses versus 3 or more, right? To eliminate the possibility of not having enough time to complete the course. The 8-week session itself, or the 8-week mark, it's a deadline, like a hard deadline. You will not be able to get an extension regardless of whatever the situation might be, but it is definitely doable and you're in full control, David. So really good. Go ahead,
Hey,
Brian.
Paige, do you mind if I add on to that a bit? So that is a very important and good question. One bit of feedback for Paige especially. I was very happy with the immense flexibility when I first started in the 701, 702, and 703. A lot of that carried over. Again, given folks, a lot of us are working professionals and we're very busy. So sometimes we don't necessarily intend to get a late start or get behind on some of that, but in many cases, all of the stuff, as long as you had all your assignments completed, including the final, by a certain time on the last day of the term, then you are good to go. So I really, really appreciate that. And highly encourage that flexibility as much as possible going forward. As I progress through the program, I've encountered a couple faculty members that, don't seem as much in terms of sharing that vision. So whatever can be done to drive that flexibility, it even doesn't necessarily have to be taken to that extreme. I mean, even if a situation where someone has, knowing that they have a work trip coming up and they don't necessarily want to be doing homework from their hotel or whatever of that nature, if they could just make some sort of arrangement with the professor ahead of time saying, hey, I know I got this assignment due at the beginning of week 6, but I'm going to be out of town for weeks 5, 6, and 7. What can we do here? Can I have a new deadline for that particular one, or should I work ahead early? Or what do you suggest on that? If there can be any kind of accommodation if they don't want to do the whole maximum flexibility that many of us students really do appreciate when possible.
For sure. I can definitely pull in the faculty and see if we can brainstorm some possibilities there.
Yeah, part of the feedback was folks saying, well, research has shown if you continuously stay engaged or check in every so often. I totally agree. I don't disagree with that at all. But my only point is life happens. And again, some of us that have very busy work schedules, that's not always practical. But at the same time, if we're motivated enough to knock out all the requirements by the end of the term or by whatever accommodation can be made, then there should be no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, what other questions do we have?
Seems like, would you be able to help understand how courses are planned? Maybe Brian, how did you plan your courses? Was it with advisors? Did they help you pace? And then how many hours a week is typically required now that you're a full student?
Yep, sure. So great question. There are dedicated academic advisors available. I believe you can ask them questions, and there is a web page for that. Let me try and find that and drop it in the chat if that's okay. But basically, I think once you complete the 3 credit hours of M.B.A. 701, 702, 703, after that point, then you're officially assigned an advisor who you can then reach out to at any time. They are helpful with course load planning, uh, sequencing, that sort of thing. All right, I found the link. Let me put that in the chat.
Thanks, Brian.
Yep, you're welcome. So yeah, so that page will show who the advisors are for the program. And again, to this point, it's typically just more of a sequencing question. So there is a course offerings page that you can kind of see what's going to be offered ahead of time in the next 1 or 2 terms. And one of my fellow students actually put together kind of like a course mapping spreadsheet. So she has each of the courses listed down one column A and then kind of going across each of the terms. So like fall A 23, fall B 23, spring A 24. And then that way you can kind of see a grid of when you took each course. And you can also get a sense from the course offerings page that's out there, kind of what the typical sequence is as far as which course is offered during which term. But again, the advisors will definitely work with you on any questions related to that. So you make sure that you can do course load and sequencing appropriately. And also in terms of course load, yeah, I mean, that's kind of why I mentioned earlier about the whole 6-year limit. So that's kind of extreme, but it's good to have that flexibility if we need it. But what I found in my case, again, working full time, having a busy schedule, is I kind of take now pretty much just one 3 credit hour course per term. If I had to do more than that, that would be doable. Maybe like a 3 credit hour one and then a 2 credit hour one, like 706. But at the same time, I do know students who have taken 3 of the 500 level courses, so 9 credit hours total, all during the same term while working full time. So I'm not sure exactly when they slept or had fun outside of work and school, but I've seen it done. Basically, the program is a lot of work, but it's also worth it, and you get out of it what you put into it, in my opinion.
There was a question earlier, I believe, we responded via chat. Someone was asking if they can learn at their own pace. I want to make a clarification to that. To a certain extent, yes. As we just mentioned earlier, you have access to all of your modules and you basically coordinate your schedule around that, right? You have 8 weeks to complete. Some weeks may be busier than others, so you can perhaps work ahead a couple of weeks and slow down a bit on week number 3 if it's a busy work week for you, and so forth and so on. But not to confuse this with Coursera's work, learn at your own pace flexibility where it could be indefinite, right? Coursera may give you the option to reset your deadlines. And if it takes you 5 months to complete the course, no worries. It is a self-learning platform. Once you join courses through Illinois Tech, you are committing yourself to an 8-week session. And therefore that learn at your own pace needs to be adjusted within the 8-week session, no more than that. Hopefully that clarifies that question. Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, and that's a good response there. So in addition to the course offerings page, there's an academic calendar page, and I highly recommend taking a look at that and printing it out. That way you're aware of the start of the term and the end of the term. And typically the content becomes available if you're registered in for credit mode about a week before the term starts. So that way, for sure, make sure you're, staying on top of the stuff as much as you can. And like I said previously, some courses you'll have a ton of flexibility within that 8-week term. The 1 or 2 odd courses, you might need to really work with the faculty member on that, based on your own personal situation, should that become a thing.
Great. Thanks for jumping in on those. We have a really ambitious learner who wants to know if it's possible to complete the MBA in 12 months while working full time. What would you say, Brian? What do you think, since you're working as well?
I'm sorry, I was looking at a different question. What was that one again?
Oh, no worries. Just an ambitious person who wants to complete the MBA in 12 months while working
Gotcha.
full time.
Yep, I see it. Yes, especially I think the first cohort was August of 23, and quite a few students were able to finish up and actually applied for and graduated this past December. So that wasn't quite 12 months, it was 15, closer to 15. Since the program was so new and that sort of thing. But as long as the courses are offered and you got the time to dedicate, I don't see why you couldn't do it that quickly.
Awesome. We're getting some more questions just around MOOCs and credits, and maybe Ada, we could just speak to it a little bit more. I'll drop the link in the chat one more time for the resource page, but just in terms of what it means to, what is a MOOC, how to transfer it into, credit and deadlines kind of associated with that.
Absolutely. A MOOC course basically means it's a non-credit version of the actual, course offered by Illinois Tech. So I like to call them a sample of the course. It is an incomplete version of the course, but the modules developed within your Coursera Plus membership, for example, they happen to be pretty much the same exact modules that you will complete in the program officially, with a couple of missing pieces. It offers the opportunity to work ahead of your own goal. For example, working MOOC courses also help students that may be a little bit hesitant to maybe their ability of, completing course content, or maybe their interest perhaps in an MBA versus a different field. You could take any of these courses with your Coursera Plus membership, work a couple of those modules, submit assignments, quizzes, and then you can make an informed decision. If you do want to get credit for any of those modules, you do have to submit a registration to the university. You do have to pay tuition fees to the university to get access to the official 4-credit course. Now, the beauty of Coursera's partnership with the university is that everything you complete as non-credit will eventually transfer over upon your registration. So if you complete 3 of the 4 modules, you do not need to repeat the 3 modules. You basically continue where you left off. But as I mentioned earlier, it's important to remember that the course is incomplete while you're taking it on Coursera, which means even if you go through 100% completion with your Coursera Plus membership, you are not finished. You do need to complete additional content that may or may not be added by the professor, and most importantly, a 4-credit final assessment that you will have to submit, and that needs to be completed within the 8-week session that you signed up for. I hope that clarifies the question. I think the student's name was Usual, if I'm not mistaken. If there's any additional questions about that process, I'm happy to help. You can connect with me individually. Brian. Go ahead, Brian. I see your hand.
Yeah, I just had a little bit of feedback on that. So I can't personally speak to the homework, but I do like that they offer it. Hold on. Can you guys hear me? I got an internet connection is unstable thing.
We
Yeah,
can
we
hear
can.
you.
Can you hear me now? Oh, sorry about that. Sorry, I got an internet connection is unstable message. No, but there are students on Slack that can kind of help out with the technical process of actually going through and converting from MOOC mode to for credit. And if I'm not mistaken, I think the additional assignments are any of the manually graded assignments, and then obviously, of course, the final. One bit of potential feedback, again, not having done MOOC mode myself, but if there's any cases where, for whatever reason, a particular course, you can't take the final until a certain point in the 8-week term, if I just completed everything in MOOC, a lot of that material is going to be fresh in my mind. So I guess the question is there another option that can be made available basically, the first week of the term or prior to even the term starts, where a student can go ahead and submit that final and not necessarily potentially have to wait for a little bit. So I don't think that's a major problem, but it may have come up a couple times, and I'm aware of at least one case where the professor was very impressed that the student did all the work ahead of time, and he basically gave them the option to submit the final before the term started, and again, everybody was happy there. So that went really well. So I would encourage that sort of thing going forward when it makes sense.
Yeah, and for clarification, there are some people who try to do all, bunch of coursework before, and maybe Ada, you can kind of keep me honest here. But you do have to make sure that you're paying for the courses. They can't just be in that open content format. You do have to pay for the courses in order for the credits to transfer and in order for them to be upgraded for credit is kind of how we say it. So the upgrade is just kind of contingent on that payment.
That is correct. And to add to that, there is a sequence and an order you should do this. If you want to venture into MOOC courses, my advice would be to work on the pathway courses and perhaps not a 500 level course. You're welcome to, of course. However, you most likely will not be able to do anything with that progress for a while, as the only courses you will be able to upgrade will be pathway courses first, followed by the post-pathway courses. And it all depends on, of course, the academic calendar, providing you the options moving forward. So I can, again, help with that process. It can be a little bit confusing at times, but it is a great resource that a lot of my learners have taken advantage of. So connect with me and we'll see if this would be the best move for you.
That's a good point. And whatever like documentation or process map, Paige, Ada, and Victoria, that you guys might want to put together to kind of visualize that. I'm sure students that might be interested in that sort of option would appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thank you all so much. I don't see any more questions. I think we can wrap it up there. Just 2 minutes left. I just want to say thank you so much to Brian. Thank you for being here, taking some time. Obviously, you're very busy as a student and someone who's also working. So thank you for being here. And Paige and Ada, thanks to you as well. I don't know if there's any other closing comments, but good luck with the enrollment to everyone who attended. And again, if you did have any other follow-up questions, please feel free to book a meeting with Ada. Her booking link is in the chat. So we look forward to hopefully welcoming you to the next cohort.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brian, for joining.
Sure. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Take care.